This is Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Mem Gimel, and we're holding on the very bottom of Mem Beis and Mid Beis, the last three words, as we quote a line that Shmuel taught us on the top of the Amud. And the line is that Shmuel said, Me'idin zeh lo zeh. They're allowed to give testimony one to another. Let's just take a moment and see that line. If you go 3 lines from the top, we said Shmuel Tamei Damar Shmuel Hashotin Machzikin Zeh Zeh Me'idin Zeh Zeh. Shotin can both have a chazaka one to another and give eidos one to another. So we turn over to Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, and says the Gemara, how can this be? How is it possible that we're saying that Shotfim are Me'idim Zeh Lazeh? Asks the Gemara, Mai, Noigin Beidusanein. This should be a classical case that one is Negea Beidus. Why? Because when one party loses, the other one loses. Therefore, how could I testify for my partner if I'm testifying about myself? Negea Beidus. Says the Gemara, we're talking about a case in which one partner wrote to the other, I have nothing to do with that particular field. Then he can give edus about it. Says the Gemara, who cares that he wrote such a thing? Tanya, we learned in a brayso, someone tells his friend, someone tells his friend, particular field, I don't have anything to do with. I don't have any asing ba. The yadim misulekes meimeno, and my hands are completely removed from it. Lo yamar klum. It's meaningless. Meaning, legally, I'm still partners. So very good that I wrote that I'm removing myself. Lemaisa, I'm legally partners, and therefore, how can I give eidos for my friend, the other partner? Says Gemara, they did an actual kinyan. Says who cares? What's the difference if you made a kinyan? He still wants to help his partner. Why? For his Baal Chayv. He himself can't collect, but his Baal Chayv, the property is Meshabed. So even if I don't have a direct benefit, I have a sidebar benefit. So how can I give edus about this land? Says the Gemara, Damai Ravin, 10 lines down, Ravin, the first one in line, Ravin Bar Shmuel, Mishmei de Shmuel. Ha-moicher sadeh lechaveiroi, shaloi ba'achrayis. Someone who sells a field to his friend without a chrayis, ein meid aloi allow meishamid lefnei bal chayv. Says the Gemara, we see that you can't give eidos because ma'amid lefnei bal chayv. This is part of the kasha. We just said you remove yourself. We just said that you made a kinyan. Who cares? There's still a tangible benefit that my Baal Chayv could collect from it. As we see, Shmuel himself said, Rav Bar Shmuel, Mishmei de Shmuel, that if you sell a field Shaloi B'Achrayis, you cannot give edus. Why? Because Ma'avid of Baal Chayv. Says the Gemara, Chamamayeskina de Kabbalah Achrayis. We're talking about a case where he was Mekabel Achrayis, the one giving edus, guaranteed even after he signed it away, and therefore there's absolutely no benefit to his eidos because he won't be able to go to the Baal Chayv. He'll come back to him, and that's the reason why he's allowed to give eidos. Says Achrayis to man, inem Achrayis to alma kol shekin, then it's even more beneficial to him. Dini chalei. Says the Gemara, no, Achrayis atzalei machmasei. Achrayis from this field, he was mekabel, and therefore there's no benefit to him to give eidos about the field. That's the case that Shmuel said, that Shotvim are allowed to be Me'idim Zeh Bozeh. Asks the Gemara, smack in the middle of the Amud, the first one line is Misalek. V'chi Misalek in Avshei Minei, Mi Misalek. Says the Gemara, this whole answer was predicated on the fact that when you remove yourself from the field, but ask the Gemara, does that really happen? Maybe he only removed himself to give Eidos, and then afterwards he'll jump back into the partnership. Ve'otanya, which we seemingly see in a brayso, b'nei ir shenignav sefer Torah shalem ein danim kedinei oisa ir ve'im mevi'in raya me'anshe oisa ir ve'im isa l'salku beitzei minayu. They can't give edus, but says Gemara, why? Because they're negea be'edus. It's their sefer Torah. Says the Gemara, based on what we just said, why don't two people come forth and they remove themselves from the whole din Torah, and then they could be involved in the din Torah. Elamai, what must be the reason the Gemara thinks right now? Because then afterwards you're going to get a benefit again. Says the Gemara, no, Shani Sefer Torah, Shemiya Koi. Sefer Torah's function is for Shemiya, and therefore there's no way to remove yourself from it, and that's the reason why in that case it doesn't work. But in our case, you could indeed remove yourself from the din Torah. Tashema, the Gemara brings another ayah. If someone says, give a money to the people in my town, ain't done in bedine oisayir. You cannot bring it as a court case in that city. Why? Because they are benefiting. Again, anytime you're benefiting from something, you're not allowed to give ages. You're not allowed to be part of it entire. So if my shul, my city is getting $1 million, I can't be part of that entire because I have a tangible benefit that we're going to get the money. Says the Gemara, the same kasha. Why doesn't two of them just remove themselves and they can be part of the entire? Says the Gemara, so I'm at a Sefer Torah, that's what he pledged, and that's again Lishmiya, which is no way to remove yourself from it. Tashema, the Gemara tries again. Says the Gemara, V'tizra, Aniyim Shakli, Daine, Mifsale. The Aniyim receive it, and the Dayanim get nothing. So what's going on over here? Why the Dayanim puzzle from this court case? Because the Aniyim are going to gain. What Sheikhs is after the Dayanim? Eleima ain't danim b'dayane aniye oisayir. Says the Gemara that if one of the dayan is an ani, then you can't do it because then the dayan is going to gain. Vein mivin raya me aniye oisayir. But now the kasha, according to Shmuel, why don't two people remove themselves and then allow the case to be heard? Everyone's an ani klap Sefer Torah because they don't have it. Really, it's real animu. And what we're talking about is aniyim diramu alayu. We're talking about where the people in the city are obligated to support the aniyim, and therefore they're all going to benefit. Because if this money goes to aniyim, the people in the city have to give that much less. Says, I don't understand. If the townspeople each have to give a certain amount, so let two people come, let them give what they need to give. Then let's say every person gives $100. Let's two people give $100. Then let them remove themselves. Well, then I know, and then they could be dayan and they could try the case. Answers Gemara, there's no set amount, so there's no way to remove an avi and make yourself not part of this din Torah, and that's the reason why it won't work. Teretz number 2. Teretz number 3. Why? Says the Gemara, really, it's not a Sefer Torah. And really, there is a set amount. So why don't two people just give their set amount and let them try the case? Says the Gemara, it can't be. Why can't it be? Because they came into Ravach. When the city has more money, everyone gains. Even when you already fulfilled your obligation and you already gave the amount you have to give to tzedakah, but lamaisa, everyone gains when there's more money for the aniyim. As the last Rashbam of the Amid says, why? Because maybe not everyone's going to have to give. So everyone does gain. And therefore, that's going to be the reason why everyone is certainly Nageya in that story. And it's not a kasha on Shmuel. Now, we continue quoting that member of Shmuel on the last line of Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, which Shmuel said, V'nasin shaymrei sachar zeh lezeh. Partners are considered to be paid watchmen, one from the other. So firstly, we dealt with the first part of Shmuel, which was that the Shutfim could give Eidos one to another. Now we're saying that the different partners are considered watchmen for each other within this entity. We turn over to Mem Gimel Amud Beis and asks the Gemara, Amai, Shmira be'bailim hi. And as the Rashbam speaks out, each one watches a little bit from the Shutfim in his own house. And the halacha b'metzia is that Shmir be'bailim pater, anytime the bailim are together with you, together with the Shaimer, watching the item, the halacha is that creates a ptur. From the pasuk we learn of Chiyisha on the Vav Ma'asav Alin Rishain, which teaches us anytime the bailim are there, there's going to be a Patur. So ask the Gemara in our case, when we have two Shutfim and one's watching the item, should be considered Shmir Bivailim, and therefore they should not be a Shemer Sachar, they should be Pater. Amar Papa explains Papa, the case is that each one remove themselves. It's not bibailim. It's not that they're both watching it simultaneously. I said, I'll watch today, you'll watch tomorrow. So today you have nothing to do with it, and tomorrow I have nothing to do with it. Therefore, it's not called bailim, and that's the reason why you'll have a din of a shemer sachar, and there will be no pitur. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, really going back to what we said in Amud Aleph. Machla bayis, machla isada. If someone sells a house or a field to someone else, and then there's a court case about that field, ein meir loy aleha. The original owner, the seller, cannot testify on the buyer's behalf. Why? Because he's going to gain. The price is on him. And if this field is taken away from him, it's going to go back to the original owner. And therefore, he's nageya and he can't give edus. Machle para, machle talis. Someone sells a movable item, then you could give edus on it. Why? If I sell you a car and the car gets seized for whatever its reason, there's no achrayis. You can't go back to me and have a tayin against me. So therefore, I can give edus because I am not anyway going to benefit from it. Says the Gemara, Maishna Reisha or Maishna Seifa. What is the reason that we're assuming that by the Reisha, by Karka, there's a chrayis, whereas by the Seifa, there is not. Says the Gemara, Rav Sheishes Reisha. But Reuven shekaz l'sadam Yishim inu machal l'levi v'asa Yehuda v'kamarer to leizel shemin de'esad l'levi. Why didn't lay the hadra? Came on the esad l'levi who hechimatim abig leminei. Tamar Yodana Dayara Dlav Yehuda. Buzachuta to come avik lemi Levi lifka me Yehuda. Tamri Hashenina Liarishan Gashemen. So says the Gemara. Really, there's a totally different shot over here. Rav Shishas is coming along, and Rav Shishas is not happy to make a simple differentiation between karka versus metaltalin, because there could be achrayis in any case, and therefore says the Gemara. Says Rav Shishas, I'll tell you a new story. And let's read it again a little bit slower. Reisha says Rav Shishas is by Reuven Shekazal Sadam Shimon. The Reisha in a case, Reuven steals a field from Shimon who machar Levi and sells it to Levi. And then the fourth guy comes, Vasi Yehuda Yehuda comes along and he questions the fact that Levi owns it. Why? Because he says, guess what? It was never Reuven's. Reuven stole the field and sold it to Levi. I'm sorry, but it was never Reuven's. Tolo Lezel Shimon. So now Shimon, who's the person that Reuven stole the field from, cannot go la'asid leila Levi and give eidos that it is Levi's. Why? Because Shimon is happy that the hadra, that it goes to Levi. Why? Because if it goes to Levi, then Shimon could one day prove that Reuven stole it from me, and I'll get it from Levi. So again, Shimon is the original owner. If Shimon gives edus that this field belongs to Reuven, he gains. What does he gain? Now Levi has it. Because he feels I'll be able to prove one day that Reuven stole it from me. And I want to get it back from Levi, who Reuven sold it to. Yehuda is calling this whole story into question. I hear. But if Shimon were to give edus, it's going to benefit him. Therefore, he's not allowed. But Kivan to Isad, says Gemara, I don't understand. 1 second. But once Shimon gives edus to Levi, what's the Shimon's whole idea over here? He gives edus that it's a Levi, so it's not his. Says the Gemara, 5 lines to the bottom. The Amar, because Shimon tells himself, Yadana Dayara Delav Yehudi. I know one thing. I know the land is not Yehuda's, and he doesn't want to say who it really is. So if he says it's not Yehuda's, by default, it will stay by Levi. And then Shimon can later on come along and say, what? Guess what? It's not Levi's either. Because Reuven stole it from me. Says the Gemara, 1 second. If Shimon has a raya that it's not Levi's, if Shimon has a raya that Reuven stole it from him, bring that raya right now. Because that would also prove it's not Yehuda's. Says the Gemara, Damar, you know why Shimon doesn't do that? Asheni Noach Levi Rishon. He says, I don't want to deal. Yehuda is a difficult guy. The Sheni Levi is easier to deal with. Harisha Kasha Emanu. I don't want to deal with Yehuda, and that's the reason why Shimon is willing to give Eidos that it's not Yehuda's to eventually get it back. Teretz number 1 of Rav Sheshes Yiba Yisema. Another teretz called Islay Sadi Lamar. Shimon says he has Eidim for this one, and Islay Sadi Lamar. They both have Eidim. They both have Eidim, and therefore Chazal say it stays in its current chazaka, and therefore Shimon does not want the field to get to Yehuda's possession, because if Yehuda were to gain, it would stay by him, and that's the reason why Shimon rather stay by Levi. We're going to stop over here. On next and Daf Mem Daled, the Gemara is going to continue with trying to figure out all the ulterior motives that Shimon might have over here. Again, not bad ulterior motives, but ulterior motives to benefit himself, that he one day will be able to get back this land. We'll pick it up from the top of Mem Daled and Mem Aleph for the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.